AITA for hugging my brother in front of my wife, despite knowing that makes my wife uncomfortable? I ask this because I know I have a skewed perspective on this. My family has always been more physically affectionate than most. My siblings Andy were always hugging, holding hands, and cuddling with each other and our parents until we moved out. This was never weird for us, it's just the way we were raised, and I've never seen anything wrong with that. My wife is an only child, and her parents are the exact opposites. To this day I've never seen her parents so much as smile at each other, which is fine, different strokes and all that, I don't judge. It did lead to some conversations early in our relationship though. I had to basically explain to her when she first met my parents years ago, that no, I didn't find it weird that they showed any amount of affection in front of us. She and my family get along great. They know her boundaries and how she doesn't like to be touched by most people, and always respected that. The issue is she once told me that she doesn't like when I'm affectionate with my family in front of her. She's not jealous or anything like that, it's just because of how she's raised, she has trouble separating physical affection from romance. Anyway, my brother lives a bit of drive away, and he came to visit for the first time in a few months. My wife got home a bit after he came over, we all caught up and that was that. Then when he left I gave him a hug goodbye, thought nothing of that until I saw my wife's face. She looked freaked out. I asked what was up, and she reiterated that she wishes I wouldn't do that around her. She explained that if she had a sister, it would be like me watching them kiss on the lips. I told her I'm sorry that she has that thought process, but she needs to work that out on her own. I don't think I should have to stop doing something normal because it makes her uncomfortable. She says I'm biased because of how I was raised as well, and that my parents were a little too clingy with me. I understand the way I grew up was unusual, and maybe I'm letting that cloud my judgment. AITA for refusing to enforce my ex's reading rule on my 15-year-old son. So I, 45 meters, have a son Callum, 15, with my ex-wife Amanda. We had an amicable divorce when Callum was 2, and so far we've been co-parenting quite well. Now, I could say a lot of things about Amanda's parenting, but the long and short of it is that she and her new husband cater their parenting style to their 2 younger kids together, 11F and 8 meters. Because of this, he's decreased his time at their house ever since he got the choice, and now spends every other weekend at their house. Around a month ago, Amanda and her husband made a reading rule for the kids. The 8-year-old has to read 30 minutes a day, the 11-year-old has to read for an hour, and Callum has to read for 2 hours. I have no idea why they did this. I think it's because the 8-year-old is falling behind in his reading level and they wanted to keep things fair between the kids. I think that this is ridiculous, as Callum is a very smart kid already, and he needs that time for homework and relaxing since he doesn't have that much free time to begin with. Amanda let me know that she expected me to enforce the reading rule when Callum is at my house. I told her that I would not. She said that it was unfair to Callum's half-siblings that he could just leave for my house and not have to follow the rule, while they had to follow the rule no matter what. I told her tough luck, it's my house and I make the rules, not her. Well now, Callum is thinking about not staying with her at all anymore due to the increasing strictness of her and her husband's rules. She told me that it's all my fault that he doesn't want to be around her anymore because I was so lax with the rules. I'm pretty sure I'm in the right here, but I thought it might be a good idea to get some perspective, so AITA? AITA for checking our nanny cam footage to prove I was being lied to? This will sound ridiculous, but just stick it out. Recently, my spouse, daughter, 5, and I were having dinner together. He took some food off her plate to try a bite and she responded by shaking her finger and saying, "You need to ask." He said, "I'm sorry, you're right, I should ask," and then a few minutes later, reached over to my place setting and took some of my food without asking. I didn't think it was a great example for our daughter considering it happened moments earlier, so I said, "You didn't ask. You just did the same thing to daughter." He said, "I assumed you were done eating." And I said, "You assumed. But just ask me." So he handed it back to me, said, "Can I have some of your garlic bread?" And I shared. Very calm, normal exchange. Because this was a non-issue and I was not upset at the situation, we tried to use it in marriage counseling as an example of how to communicate in certain situations, mainly when I say something hurt me and my spouse wants to explain how he experienced the event instead of apologizing. It became an issue when he only wanted to give his side of the food story in counseling. Later that day, I asked him calmly again if he would like to share his side to see if it changes my perspective. I said, "I can't argue with your experience since we both agree on what happened. and to my surprise indicated we did not agree. He told me he took the garlic bread from my place because he got it for both of us. I knew this was nonsense as I order from this restaurant frequently and know how much garlic bread comes with the dish. I got insanely angry, because we argue constantly about how things happen, so I stormed off. Later, he came to me and said, "I'm sorry, I thought the garlic bread was mean and I was wrong." So by this point, I'd been told that he got garlic bread for us both, and then that he thought that bread was his. I felt crazy as I usually do when these conversations happen with him, so I thought to check the nanny cam to see what really happened. He handed me my food saying, "And there's garlic bread on top for you." And then later, when I called him out for taking it from my place, he didn't say, "This bread is mine," or, "I got this to share." He said, "Okay. Can I have some of your garlic bread?" I took these clips from our nanny cam and sent them to him, asking why he would lie about something so small and turn it into a massive thing. He immediately got mad and said, "I can't believe you would do something as ridiculous as checking the camera. You're so out of line," and stormed off. So Reddit, am I the AmItheAsshole? Out of line for using our nanny cam to call my spouse out for lying. AITA for telling my fiancée her sister isn't invited to our wedding? So, myself, 27M, and my fiancée, 28F, have been together close to a year, engaged for half of that. We are planning a wedding in the fall of 24 and Dave started a guest list. She comes from a big family and I am an only child. We are close with one of her sisters in particular, and often went to visit her and play board games and such. This sister has a fiancé and is pregnant. Recently, my fiancé told me that her sister was having a shotgun wedding before the baby arrived in order to keep with their traditional values and appease familial religious desires. Back up a bit. I've done a lot for her sister and soon-to-be husband. I planned a birthday party for his son from another marriage. I've given her rides, always brought small gifts when I would visit. I've gone as far as to stop everything I was doing to help her during a health scare while she was pregnant. I really felt like a part of the family. Fast forward. In a text to my fiancée upon announcing her wedding, her sister made it a point to say, "It's a small wedding, no plus ones. Op can come to the dinner afterwards." All fine by me. I honestly don't really mind, as ceremonies can be dull, and he understood why she would only want to have immediate family at her small wedding. I woke up on the day of the wedding to help my fiancée get ready and drive her over to her sister's house. I planned on driving my fiancée, her sister, and her sister's soon-to-be husband to the venue and bringing them to the dinner afterwards. My fiancé told me, "It's okay, just drop me off at my sister's and we will get a ride over." A little odd, but I was fine with that too. I arrived over there, and as my fiancé got out of the car, I asked if I could come in and congratulate them. She seemed hesitant and said, "Okay. Let me just text my sister to make sure." I was dressed in plain clothes and was hesitantly invited to come inside. We walked up to the house. Inside was a party of her siblings, and their friends and significant others all dressed up. They all looked at me and didn't say much. I saw another one of her sisters, and her new boyfriend was in a suit. Everyone was invited. The no plus ones only applied to me. I immediately left, and in a text told my fiancé they were off the guest list for our wedding. My fiancé is upset at that, because her sister is her close friend. She said maybe I did something to upset them, which is why I wasn't invited, but I've been nothing but kind and caring to her entire family. I've spent hundreds of dollars and gone above and beyond for everyone. Now we are fighting over this. AITA? AITA for telling my neighbor that my roommates and I aren't babysitters? I, 20F, share an apartment with Casey, 24 meters, Nellie, 19F, and Hannah, 21F, along with Hannah's 8-month-old daughter. The issue at hand concerns our neighbors. John, 30 meters, and his wife Jane, 25F, have a set of twins that are a year old. So sometimes, Hannah they will have a playdate with the younger ones. But recently, they've been using the playdates as a way to dump their kids on Hannah and the rest of us. Sometimes for hours without answering the phone. Now, I love kids and would be more than happy to babysit them. But, we are all either working, in college or both. So more often we've either been late to class or work cause we can't contact John or Jane. Yesterday, the four of us were preparing to go out for lunch and get some shopping done. As we were leaving, John stopped us and said he needed Hannah to watch his kids while he went out to see a movie. I told him we aren't babysitters and if they the kids with us again without answering. we'd call social services, to which he called a bunch of spineless leeches. The other parents in the complex said that we were harsh to new parents and to have more compassion. Edit. All the names are fake and not even close to what they are in real life.